This is RBC News, and we're live right now with
We've got
Tyler
the
Smith
cameras and
himself.
microphones
It
ready.
seems pretty normal.
Reset.
Yeah,
Just make sure the
and that's
cameras
what makes
and
him
microphones aren't
disturbing.
going to cut out.
It's currently
Don't
10
worry.
a.m. in the
Reset.
morning. This is RBC News. Stay tuned.
Hello, Mr. Smith. I'm Mr. Thompson, and we're going to be interviewing you today. Is that okay for you? Yeah, it's fine. We're live on a broadcast right now, so I suggest you to sit tight, relax, and be honest with me, okay? I'm aware. Okay. Can you tell me your full name? Tower Hall Smith. Date of birth? May 16th of 1997. Birthplace? I was born in here, RoCitizen, California. Are you relaxed? Sure. Do you want something to drink? Thanks for the offer, but I'm good. Well then, let's start. So, let's start off with the things you did, okay? Sure. When the police entered your apartment, they told us that it was like a death factory. Yep. What started it? Like, what's the motive? Were you like angry or something? No, those were not hate crimes at all. But I think the best way to describe it is I wanted to experience anything in life to the point that I questioned myself. How does it feel like to murder a human being and do anything you want to their corpse in full control? So that just slips through my mind every day. I go throughout my routine. Do you know what triggers you to think of something like that? There's this one time when I was around 4 years old. It was Halloween that time, so everybody just straight up decorating their house with spooky stuff. And one of my parents had this skeleton outside the house. I don't know, but I was fascinated. Like, I couldn't believe it was inside a human body. So my thoughts were like, I wanted to see it for real. And that's just a part of curiosity that hits within me. So you were fascinated by the human bones and couldn't believe yourself that it was inside. Human? Yeah. But my curiosity hits me harder than ever when I found out that animals have bones too. And I remember it was nighttime. Before I went to sleep, I asked my brother a question. I asked him, is killing people bad or something like that? And he replied back to me by saying, yes, it was a very bad thing to do. And on my mind was, if I can't kill a human, maybe I can take down an animal instead and see what's inside of him myself. And that's just my first thought during that night, and I couldn't wait for tomorrow to do what I desired to do. Did you kill an animal after that night? No. But I miraculously found one dead raccoon around the backyard of our house because I was wandering outside the house. Wait, so you were only 5 years old that time? Yes, I am. Okay, you may proceed. I was wandering outside the house that time, and I walked towards the dead raccoon with a stick on my hand, and I kind of poked it a little, and flies everywhere, and it smells so bad. And when I think of it now, I think that raccoon died from hunger or something, so I poked it, and I get a little closer again, but this time I touch it with my bare hands, and I ended ripping the stomach of the raccoon open, and blood just splattered everywhere. But not gonna lie, I was disgusted a little for probably 5 minutes, and so on. I pulled out the intestines out, and I was amazed because I feel like a doctor or something. And as I looked further into that raccoon's body, I stumbled across the rib cage, and I was fascinated. I touched it with my bare hands, and I was having a thought of bringing that dead raccoon inside my room. So my biological mom called me, and she was so shocked when she saw me playing with that dead raccoon. She yelled at me and carried me back home and gave me a bathe inside the bathroom. He told Dad it, and he gets mad at me, telling me to never do it again because it was sick and disgusting. So I just moved on like nothing happens because I didn't really care that much because in my mind it wasn't a big deal. My brother had a book of human anatomy that time, so I borrowed it from him and locked myself into my room and read it over and over, and I was amazed. You have a brother? I mean, yeah, but he's not my blood-related brother. My biological mom and dad adopted him before I was born, so he's older than me. How old is he when you're 5? Probably around 16 or 17. Do you know why your parents adopted him? I don't actually know, to be honest. You were born from your mother that is currently taking care of you that time? Yes, I do. So, how's your relationship with your parents? It was a normal type of bond. If you imagine it, no abuse, no strict rules and stuff. But when I was almost 6, I woke up that morning and went downstairs, and everyone was gone. I tried calling Mom, Dad, my brother, but they don't seem to respond. And I took a peek outside, and the car was gone. I assumed they left, so I waited inside the house, reading books, watching TV. I could do whatever I want because no one was actually home. And then hours later, my grandma came in to pick me up. I asked her where did my parents go, and she doesn't seem to respond back, so I just deal with it. So we moved into this, some sort of African-American neighborhood community, because that's where my grandma stayed. My grandma told me that from that day I need to stay with her, and I asked why, and she said, "I don't think they want you anymore." I just snapped, went to the bedroom and cried. I didn't understand what's going on that point, so that's pretty much how my grandma took me.
How long did you live with your grandma, Tyler?
5 years.
What do you mean by that? Did she pass away or something?
No, she just left. But that's just a story for another minute. When I turned 10, that's when she told me I needed to get a job or a way to get a buck. I remember I worked as a stocker in a supermarket.
Were you attending school at the time?
Oh, yep.
We're working.
Correct. I earned like $100 or like $150 that time. And I also assist Grandma with chores inside the house and stuff, so I pretty much keep my busy for her the whole day, and by the time, I wasn't getting satisfaction from my salary that time, and I thought I wanted more. I have a black friend that time, and I opened up to him about about me not getting enough money from the job I was doing.
Wait, how old is your friend?
He's grown. He's 19 that time. So he offered me some cannabis inside the seasoning container and told me to sell it for $300 per container if I get it from him for $100. I got like $300 on my pocket that time, and I was like, screw it. I bought 3 containers. He handed me the product. I handed him the money.
Wait, so you sell cannabis?
Yes, sir.
And you were only 10?
Correct.
Did you get custody?
Nope, he assists me when there's a transaction going on, so he basically finds someone and lets me know, and then he gives me a specific location to do the transaction. It's usually around the back of the sports shop, and by the time I do that, I earn thousands of bucks.
Were you almost cut?
No, I think my friend was careful on who he was talking to. I met this girl who was 20 at the time, and we became close. She'd take me to Nomburgers to eat, gives me a ride to school and back home. And funny thing is that I met her by selling cannabis to her.
Really?
Yep. Anyways, going back to why my grandma left. After a week, I woke up. I opened the door, and the house was empty.
What do you mean?
Nobody's home, and like, Grandma should be there.
So she just left, like, drive away or something?
Yeah, I waited 4 hours, and she didn't came back home, and the car was gone.
Similar tragedy like your parents?
Yeah, I think so.
How old is your grandma?
Around her 50s.
Did you ever call the cops after that?
No, I just thought she left like my parents, so I didn't call the cops.
What did you do after that?
I try not to sob or show any emotion and just keep things myself, you know. And by the hours passed, I just moved on. That girl I met was actually from that neighborhood, West Highland Street. She always seen me go to school by myself, so that time she offered me a ride to school and back home. And it just happened every day until she officially took me, and that's how she became my caretaker or a mother figure.
Did you know anything about her?
She already introduced herself before she took me because we often hang out. She always take me to Nomburgers and stuff. So we formed some kind of bond together, you know.
Hold on. What did you do when the time you were alone before she took you?
Often, let's say murder an animal in the forest, I would take a bag of shovel and a knife with me before I get to the forest. I saw this cat, and this may sound graphic, but I bashed its head like 3 times until it was unconscious and put it on the bag. Went home, went to the bathroom, and I start to explore its internal organs and stuff. I would cut the belly open first and pull each organs. I don't know, but it brings satisfaction for me. And after that, I beheaded the cat and proceeded to dismember each limb. Since nobody was home that time, there's a blender around the kitchen, so I went back to the bathroom and sorry, you know how it is, can I say it?
Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
I put the body parts of the cat into the blender, put a little bit of water, and started. There are some struggles going on, like the bone catching up on the blade, which makes the flesh takes long to turn into a smoothie texture. My plan is to flush the remains into the toilet, but it needs to be something like a smoothie type stuff. So I took the blender with me and rushed down the remainings into the sink. It was a bloody mess, I tell you that. On that point, I was panicking because the smell is so horrible and people might notice it. So I gotta think fast. I actually don't know what to do. and I thought I need something that can dissolve the flesh. So I went to the kitchen, get a pot with some water and get to the stove and light it up. As I wait for it to boil, and a few moments later it boils so hard the water just jumps around the pot and stuff, but that was my plan. I took the head of the can and put it on the boiling water and swiftly closed the pot. The heat pressure is so strong that I need to hold the lid of the pot. I held it for like 10 minutes. I turned off the stove and opened the lid. I held it for like 10 minutes. I turned off the stove and opened the lid. The flesh was not completely dissolved, but breaks apart and turn into somewhat soft. I don't have the rubber gloves that time, so I had to use the mittens to grab the pot back to the bathroom. I took out the skull with a few flesh in it because some of it just broke down apart because of the heat, and some of the fur broke apart from the flesh too. I poured the pot that has a little flesh and fur into the toilet and flushed it. So now I got this arms, legs, torso, head remainings. We have a clever knife in the kitchen, so I took it. I had to start with the torso, so I chopped it. I had a little struggle with it since the bones are going on the way. So I put those remainings into the microwave and set it to its hottest temperature, maybe like 121 degrees, for like 5 minutes. So after that, I opened the microwave and just let it sit there because it's too hot to be touched. So when it starts to cool a little, I pick it up with my mittens on, went to the bathroom, and it has this crispy texture. So I dropped it on the floor and started stomping it. So it broke down into little pieces, but it has a little flesh on it, so I just flushed it in the toilet. We have this water hose kind of thing, so I used it to wash off the pieces of what I've just stomped into a hole. I did the same procedure, put the remainings all together inside the microwave, and just did what I did. And I just flushed down the remaining small bones and flesh into the toilet, and finally things were done.
What did you feel after you did that thing?
I felt like I just committed a murder into a human being.
What did you do after that?
I went to bed because I was so tired from that procedures and told myself I'll just clean up the bathroom tomorrow, and so I did.
How long does your caretaker take care of you?
8 years.
How was it?
Well, after that 8 years, I graduated high school in RoCitizen High School. And 3 days after that, my caretakers told me that I need to live on my own since I'm grown. So they got me an apartment, lent me some money and stuff. I stayed on room 9 that time.
How's your life after that?
It was pretty much an isolation for me because I'm struggling to meet new people and pretty much inside my apartment at all times.
Were you an introvert?
Yep, I was an introvert that time, so I developed a drinking habit.
Were you thinking about the same fantasies or murderous thoughts that time?
Yeah.
Can you tell me what was it about?
Bringing a girl into the apartment room and do whatever I want while they're unconscious.
Haller, are those thoughts sexually motivated?
I mean, yeah, in some way or another.
Have you tried to bring those thoughts to reality on that period of time?
No, my intentions of harming someone was zero at that time. So I drink every day to overcome those thoughts or to drown them all.
Have you tried to stop the drinking habits?
No, my caretakers tried to. They found out that I drink too much.
How did they find out?
They visited my apartment one time and saw a couple of cans of alcohol and stuff. And I was 19 at that time, and that was the first time they visited me in my apartment. And they also knew that I wasn't going to college, so they decided to book me a flight to Milwaukee so that I could study college.
Did you went to the airport alone?
No, my caretakers or parents, let's say, took me to the airport, but I took the flight alone.
Did you actually study college in Milwaukee?
No, just another phase of being alcoholic. Drink there, drink here. I actually met some people and ended up being friends with them, and that's how I learned how to socialize with people. But eventually, I ran out of money that time. Couldn't afford stuff. Can't look for a job because I was actually arrested for public indecency.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was not sober at the time, and I had a couple of beers. That's why I kind of messed up.
How long you were locked up?
9 months and a fine of $10,000.
And you choose to stay locked up?
Of course, because I have no money for bail.
What happened after 9 months?
I called my parents, or let's say caretakers, to send me back to RoCitizen. And it took several attempts before I fully convinced them.
Have you learned a lesson after the arrest?
Oh yes. When I went back to RoCitizen, I tried to be a good boy.
How old were you when you went back to RoCitizen?
I was 20 at that time.
Did you actually behave? Found a job?
Yep. I got the job as a nurse when I went back to this place, and after a week I started to crave for some alcohol again. So one time I sneak a few beers inside the restroom in the hospital, and I was blacked out drunk when they saw me. I think they got pictures of me and stuff I don't really remember.
What happened after that?
I got fired. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was fired.
What did you do after that?
I focused even more and increased my self-confidence by going out at the club. I met the chief of RCPD itself, and he's the one who offered me a job into the police station. And that time I already enrolled myself into law school. And that's how I got my job as a dispatcher and became a law student.
So you were a 4 RAD officer and a law student?
Yes.
How's being an RAD officer and a law student at the same time? Isn't that exhausting?
It is indeed exhausting, but I just found it exciting for me. Because not everybody is a lawyer and an RCPD officer at the same time, right? So it just basically becomes a way to keep myself busy and away from dark thoughts and drinking habit. Being an RCPD officer and a law student makes me feel on top of the world, and that's how I build confidence more within myself.
Did you actually behave on that point?
I tried again, but months later I just screwed things up, skipping shifts, skipping classes, to go back to the drinking habit and dark thoughts, because turns out I was missing it. There's this one night where I bought the cans of booze inside the police station because me and one of my buddies were bored and stuff. It's 1 a.m. at that time. I asked them if they want to chug a beer and stuff, but then they agreed. So I went to the supermarket to get some drinks, went back to the station and drank it while we were on duty. We were caught later on by CCTV footage, and we were suspended for months.
Did they take you back to the station after that month?
Yes. Chief's probably gonna hear this.
Indeed he will. So, what did you do after the suspension?
Drink here, drink there. I actually already killed some people that time.
So you were active?
Yep.
Why did you decide to become a law student? Were you planning to be a lawyer?
There's actually a part of me that wanted to become a lawyer, and at the same time, there's a part of me that wants to study the law and order to get away with criminal activities, such as murder.
No further questions. Thank you so much, Mr. Smith.
Okay.
Take care. Next time, we're going to interview you about each murder that you did, okay?
Loud and clear. Thank you.